explore the perverse and truly strange teachings of the Jehovah's Witnesses about sex. This video contains adult material. It's not safe for work, or children, or even pets, really. Wear your headphones. Seriously. So let's get started with an article from the Watchtower in Y2K entitled, "You Can Remain Chaste in an Immoral World." To be chaste is to have no sexual nature or intention at all. None. Why would anyone want to do that?
He was dark and handsome. She was talented and beautiful. They worked for the same company.
Oh, okay. This sounds like a movie trailer. Is it a schlocky romantic comedy or a porno? I can't tell yet.
She showered him with personal attention.
Definitely a porno then. There's no way HR would allow this.
He gave her admiration. They bought gifts for one another.
Oh my. Maybe not. Maybe it is a romantic comedy.
Soon, they were lovers.
That was abrupt. Anyway, I still really can't tell if this movie's a romantic comedy or porno. I do want to know, though, why is it in the Watchtower?
He left his wife for her. She, in the end, decided to stay with her husband and call the affair off.
Oh, it's a drama. My bad.
Half-heartedly, he tried to return to his wife. Lacking true remorse, however, he did not succeed.
Of course he didn't succeed. I mean, seriously. His wife is clearly not an idiot here. If someone left you for someone else and then tried to come back to you because the other relationship didn't quite work out, would you let them come back?
Everyone involved continued on with life, though not unscathed.
Does anybody know what the point is here? Like, why did they tell this story?
Sexual morality is no longer thought of as a virtue in this world. The pursuit of pleasure and satisfaction without restraint appears to be the order of the day.
My! This is bullshit, actually. See, sexual morality is still very important to the wide majority of people in the world. It's just that the Jehovah's Witnesses have their own very restrictive definition of what sexual morality is. And surprise, surprise, most people, don't agree with it. Sexual repression creates more problems than it solves, and it's definitely not a virtue, guys.
The new Encyclopedia Britannica states, adultery seems to be as universal and in some instances as common as marriage.
Oh, you want to really have your mind blown? Do some research about the marital customs and practices of the European aristocracy in centuries past. Adultery is not new, nor is it novel. It's not some indicator of vast moral breakdown. I mean, it's been around as long as humans have been outsourcing decisions from their brains to their crotches. The next heading in this article is called, "Beware of a Smooth Palate." Why are we talking about the roof of your mouth?
The reason why thinking ability is essential in maintaining moral purity in an unclean world is that the ways of an immoral person are seductive.
My. If this is true, then the witnesses are screwed because they've had all thinking ability brainwashed right on out of them. And why is it that they're so sure that all immoral people are seductive? Well, I mean, in the real world, there are lots of things that are immoral that aren't related to sex, like lying, murder, stealing, betrayal. So are they saying that cat burglars and serial killers are seductive? Ew. Yeah, somehow I don't think that's what we're talking about here. See, in the Jehovah's Witness world, moral only means sexual. Morality is about what happens in your private areas, and that's it.
Solomon warns, as a honeycomb, the lips of a strange woman keep dripping.
That sounds gross, actually. Are you feeling seduced? Because I'm not feeling it.
And her palate is smoother than oil. But the after effect from her is as bitter as wormwood. It is as sharp as a two-edged sword. In this proverb, the wayward person is portrayed as a strange woman, a prostitute.
So why are we just assuming that this woman is a prostitute because we don't know her? Also, this is some sexist crap right here. How many wives did Solomon have again?
The words with which she seduces her victim are as sweet as comb honey and smoother than olive oil.
They do know that's not a particularly appetizing combination, don't they?
Do not most immoral sexual advances begin this way?
No.
For example, Consider the experience of an attractive 27-year-old secretary named Amy.
Why?
She relates, "This man at work gave me a lot of attention and praises me at every opportunity. It feels nice to be noticed, but I can clearly see that his interest in me is strictly sexual. I am not going to be taken in by his advances."
You know, I'm going to need some more information here. I think Amy might be really embarrassingly confused. I mean, think about it. The Jehovah's Witnesses have all these rules about flirting and dating and stuff, and they're restrictive to the point that you can't even compliment someone of the opposite sex on a new haircut or a nice suit. So if Amy has been indoctrinated this way, she could be taking simple courtesy.
Hey, Amy, nice haircut.
Hey, Amy, that's a nice jacket.
Hey, Amy, good work on that budget report.
As flirtation. And she thinks dude wants to bang her. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe he does, but somehow I doubt it.
The flattering words of a seducer or a seductress are usually attractive, unless we recognize their true nature. For this, we need to exercise our thinking ability.
I mean, there's so much wrong with this. And where is this thinking ability that they're talking about? Because Watchtower has spent a century now carefully removing thinking ability from their followers, even having articles and talks saying that independent thinking is wrong and sinful. So where are they going with this?
The after effects of immorality are as bitter as wormwood and as sharp as a two-edged sword, painful and death-dealing. A troubled conscience, an unwanted pregnancy, or a sexually transmitted disease are often the bitter consequences of such conduct. And think of the enormous emotional pain experienced by the marriage partner of an unfaithful individual. One act of infidelity can inflict wounds deep enough to last a lifetime. Yes, immorality hurts.
All of these things, all of them are preventable. If you think about something that you're contemplating doing and you know that you're going to feel horribly guilty about something, then maybe that's your cue you shouldn't do it. I mean, that's easy enough. But unwanted pregnancy, use contraception. Condoms are cheap, and so is birth control. STDs, use condoms. Or how about this? Don't have sex with people unless you know they're clean. And as far as hurt feelings go, look, nothing I've ever said on this channel advocates for cheating, because it's a shitty thing to do, and I would never recommend doing it. So right, cheating is wrong. Don't do it. But if you're single and unattached, and you want to have sex with somebody else who's single and unattached, go for it. Just don't be an idiot.
Commenting on the lifestyle of a wayward woman, the wise king continues, "Her feet are descending to death. Her very steps take hold on Sheol itself. The path of life she does not contemplate. Her tracks have wandered she does not know where. The immoral woman's ways lead her to death. Her steps to Sheol, the common grave of mankind. With sexually transmitted diseases, especially AIDS, running rampant, how true these words are. Her outcome is the same as that of those who accompany her in her crooked tracks."
Holy rampant misogyny, Batman. Why is it always the woman's fault? Because it is always the woman's fault. Gag. And double gag on this grammatical atrocity in the last sentence. Her outcome is the same as that of those of them of whosoever goeth. What the fuck? I think the lesson here is, if you hang out with sluts, you gon' die. Got that?
With heartfelt concern, the king urges, "So now, O sons, listen to me, and do not turn away from the sayings of my mouth.
I am sorry, brother. You were saying?
Keep your way far off from alongside her, and do not get near the entrance of her house."
You notice his utter and complete lack of concern for the daughters? Why is this woman so damn dangerous anyway? She's in her own house, minding her own business. It's not like she's out there sexually assaulting these innocent men walking by.
Don't even go near her. You'll get all hot and bothered, and then you'll have no choice but to commit fornication.
The stupid is strong.
We need to stay as far away as possible from the influence of immoral people. Why should we open ourselves to their ways by listening to debasing music, watching corrupting entertainment, or exposing ourselves to pornographic material?
Do you notice the rather blatant black and white thinking here? The us against them mentality? And they're basically saying here that the entire world and everyone in it is immoral, except the Jehovah's Witnesses. You can't listen to music. You can't watch any entertainment. Okay, so they did put qualifiers on that, and that's important. Because what exactly constitutes debasing music or corrupting entertainment according to the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, As you've seen if you've watched previous episodes of Sex in the Watchtower, they're not fans of the twist or any kind of music that might be suitable for dancing to. You know, I heard a talk from the platform once when I was in about how debasing it was for a group of Jehovah's Witnesses at a gathering to do a line dance to Garth Brooks' Friends in Low Places. I mean, everything except Kingdom Melodies is considered suspect, debasing, and bad. And Kingdom Melodies, as we all know, are heinously awful. Corrupting entertainment? Same deal. We aren't supposed to watch anything with magic in it, which ruled out most kids' shows and cartoons. We watched them anyway. Any movie or show that depicts an alternative lifestyle, premarital sex, unwed pregnancy, or basically any sort of conflict that might make the story even a little bit interesting is off limits. What can they actually watch with a clean conscience? I mean, without getting counseled for it. Caleb and Sophia?
And how foolish to invite their attention by flirting or by being immodest in dress and grooming.
My.
Oh, wow. And on top of everything else, you're asking for it if you look nice. Jesus! We know who this is directed at too, don't we? Sisters, women, girls, you are asking for it if you look nice. Asking to attract immoral people who just want to use you and abuse you and pull you away from Jehovah. Don't even ask me what happens if you don't look nice, though. So you can't do anything. Anything. No music, no TV, no movies, no being friendly or making small talk or being nice to people without having to feel guilty about it or risk being counseled. You should feel guilty about everything. Even your personal appearance. Because if you look like a troll, then you're not setting a good example as a Jehovah's Witness. And if you're too attractive, you are asking to be raped by an immoral, evil, worldly person. You can never be right. You are never okay. Does anybody see the problem with this?
Is the Bible prudish about sexual relations?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Not at all. The emotion of romantic love and the ecstasy enjoyed between a man and a woman are gifts from God.
Oh my.
However, this intimacy is to be enjoyed only by marriage partners. So to a married man, Solomon gives this exhortation. Drink water out of your own cistern, and tricklings out of the midst of your own well. Should your springs be scattered out of doors, your streams of water in the public squares themselves, let them prove to be for you alone, and not for strangers with you.
Okay. Is city water not allowed either? What does this have to do with anything? Hey, honey, can you check and see if we have Watchtower approved plumbing? The city water might be demonized.
Your own cistern and your own well are poetic expressions for a beloved wife.
Dude was not a very good poet. Maybe that just isn't the best metaphor to use here. You think?
Experiencing sexual enjoyment with her is likened to drinking refreshing water.
Yeah? What's it like for her? Oh, you never thought to ask that? Typical.
Unlike the water supply in public places, a cistern or a well is considered private property.
Oh my God. Dude, your wife is not your property. She is a living, breathing human being, not your suitcase or a roll of toilet paper. She's a person.
And the man is counseled to father children at home with his wife, rather than scatter his seed in public squares, that is, among other women. Clearly, the advice to a man is to be faithful to his wife.
While I feel that people who are married should be faithful to each other, I just don't know what to say to this. I mean, you can have a faithful relationship without thinking of the other person as property, you narcissistic bastards. Not to mention spreading your seed around the public square. People go to jail for that sort of thing, you know? Fucking freak.
The wise man continues, let your water source prove to be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth, a lovable hind and a charming mountain goat.
I thought bestiality was frowned upon. I'm not sure I'm down with this.
Let her own breast intoxicate you at all times.
Oh my.
With her love may you be in ecstasy constantly.
So wouldn't intoxicating breasts and constant ecstasy be considered too unrestrained to be allowed for a Jehovah's Witness? I'm just saying.
Water source, or fountain, has reference to the source of sexual satisfaction.
Oh, baby. You're such a water source. Aquifer. Rain barrel.
Sexual pleasure with one's marriage mate is blessed, God-given. Hence, a man is exhorted to rejoice with the wife of his youth. To him, she is as lovable and as beautiful as a female deer, and as charming and graceful as a mountain goat.
Actually, I can think of plenty of things that are more charming and graceful than a goat. Who decided that goats were the best they could do? And I'm a little bit concerned and disturbed by the continued emphasis on bestiality. I mean, why?
Solomon next poses two rhetorical questions. So why should you, my son, be in an ecstasy with a strange woman or embrace the bosom of a foreign woman?
Well, technically that's one sentence, so one question.
Yes, why should a married person be lured into sexual intimacy outside of marriage through contacts at a place of work, at school, or elsewhere?
Why do they always say they're being lured into it? Why, when many of the people we are talking about here are actually a little bit predatory? This creates a very interesting problem among Jehovah's Witnesses and former Jehovah's Witnesses alike. The idea that they're always in the right, that they're always the victim who's been wronged, even if they were the aggressor in the situation. The way this reads, any contact with other people at work or at school or anywhere is a trap. It's a lure to immorality. It's a snare for the unsuspecting Jehovah's Witness. In reality, Jehovah's Witnesses are so repressed sexually that anything, even remotely sexual in nature, is an instant turn-on for them. And they can't leave it alone. So they're being conditioned here and set up to fail. I think Watchtower does this on purpose. See, they want people to feel like they need to repent and grovel and beg to be reinstated and to be allowed to be a witness again. And what better vehicle for this than a biological imperative, like sex? This is so sick. And it is a common, documented, well-researched cult tactic.
To married Christians, the Apostle Paul gives this counsel. This I say, brothers, the time left is reduced. Henceforth let those who have wives be as though they had none.
This guy. What an asshole. And this doesn't really sound like the kind of advice witnesses would want to give.
What does this entail? Well, the followers of Jesus Christ are to keep on seeking first the kingdom. Therefore, married couples are not to be so absorbed in one another that they give kingdom interest a secondary place in their lives.
Well, guys, you can have sex with your wife if you must, but you need to be thinking about field service while you do it. The Watchtower must be first place in your life at all times, even business time.
Sexual desires can be controlled. They must be by those desiring Jehovah's approval. This is what God wills, the sanctifying of you, that you abstain from fornication, that each one of you should know how to get possession of his own vessel, his own body, in sanctification and honor, admonished the Apostle Paul.
Okay, it is true that sexual desires can be controlled, but it's actually much easier to do that when you are allowed to express them somehow, when you're allowed to learn how to control them. When there's absolutely no outlet allowed for these normal parts of human biology, then things get a little weird. What they're saying here is that we should be able to completely turn off our sexuality, control our bodies to the point that we don't even have sexual feelings anymore at all. But then we have to be able to flip the switch back on whenever we are married and at the appropriate times. Wait, your body didn't come with on and off switches? Where is that switch? Still looking. Haven't found it yet. Do you see one?
Freak.
Young people, then, should not rush into marriage when they first experience an awakening of sexual impulses. Marriage requires a commitment, and living up to such a responsibility calls for maturity. Better it is to wait until one is past the bloom of youth, the period when sexual feelings run strong and can distort one's judgment.
What the hell are they supposed to do then? They can't have sex unless they are married. They can't even masturbate. So are they just supposed to sit there and stew in their own hormones and waste their sexual prime until it's past, until Watchtower considers it appropriate for them to get married? Please, why would anybody do that?
And how unwise and sinful it is for an adult desiring to marry to get involved in immoral relations simply because a prospective marriage partner is not available.
Wait, who is this adult having immoral relations with if there are no prospective partners available? An elderette? Bessie the cow? Who?
The fundamental reason why sexual immorality is wrong is that Jehovah, the giver of life and bestower of sexual capacity in humans, disapproves of it.
Now there's a title you never heard in prayer from the platform.
O Jehovah, bestower of sexual capacity, please bless us this day as we gather together to read our watchtowers.
The fundamental reason they're giving here for why sex is wrong is because some invisible man in the sky doesn't like it. This would be the same invisible man in the sky who supposedly created it and made it all possible in the first place. Yeah, that guy. Gives a kid a piece of chocolate and then says he'll kill him if he eats it. Jerk.
So giving the strongest incentive for moral chasteness, King Solomon states, "For the ways of man are in front of the eyes of Jehovah, and he is contemplating all his tracks." Yes, nothing is hidden from the eyes of God, with whom we have an accounting. Any act of sexual uncleanness, regardless of how secret, and whatever its physical and social consequences may be, is bound to damage our relationship with Jehovah. How foolish to forfeit peace with God for a few moments of illicit pleasure.
That's right. Jehovah is watching your every move. He sees you over there adjusting yourself, brother. He sees me petting this dog. He sees you scratching your ass, picking your nose, taking a crap. Ooh, boy. He sees you jerking off, and it makes him sad. I mean, not sad enough to do anything about it, but sad. That's what they tell you. Jehovah never actually says anything, though, does he? Jehovah is completely silent and invisible and really, really sad. He's not just watching you, though. He's contemplating you, really looking at all the details, committing them to memory so that he can judge you for them later. Didn't that just make you feel special?
Some who shamelessly indulge in immoral ways may seem to do so with impunity, but not for long.
And this is the same not for long that we've heard since approximately 1874. Armageddon, just around the corner, y'all. This is just silly. I mean, they're basically saying here to ignore the evidence that you can see with your own eyes. People who live their lives just fine outside the Jehovah's Witnesses are in reality just fine. Nothing horrible is going to happen to them just because they don't submit to the Jehovah's Witness ideas of morality. Sure, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you have sex outside marriage, they're going to make sure and punish you for it, especially if you happen to be female. But in the real world, consensual sex between adults is not a crime. Our next article is also from the Watchtower in 2000, and it is called
Safeguard Your Name.
Why? Is somebody trying to steal my identity or something? Under the heading,
Do not desire her prettiness.
we find this gem.
Can a scriptural upbringing really safeguard us from the snare of sexual immorality? Yes, it can. We are assured the commandment is a lamp, and a light the law is, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life, to guard you against the bad woman, against the smoothness of the tongue of the foreign woman.
My.
Because women are always the problem. Always.
Remembering the counsel of God's word and using it as a lamp to our foot and a light to our roadway will help us resist the smooth invitations of a bad woman, or a bad man for that matter.
Oh, look, they finally noticed that bad men do occasionally exist, or that a man might be anything other than a hapless victim of all these whorish Jezebels.
Do not desire her prettiness in your heart, admonishes the wise king, and may she not take you with her lustrous eyes. Why? Because in behalf of a woman prostitute, one comes down to a round loaf of bread, but as regards another man's wife, she hunts even for a precious soul.
Anybody know what the fuck they're talking about? This doesn't make any sense. And let's talk about the desiring of prettiness, okay? As a Jehovah's Witness woman, you have only 2 points of value as a human being: your physical appearance and your spirituality, which means how hard you work for Watchtower. So your best bet is to be knockout gorgeous, because that is the best way to get a brother's attention so you can get married. If you're not particularly pretty, your only option is to stay single forever, or to be perfect and spiritual enough to go to Bethel and maybe snare a Bethelite who's looking for a beard. So, when they say here, do not desire her prettiness, it's kind of a slap in the face to all the sisters in the hall, because that's literally all they've got: their appearance and their Watchtower work. Now the brothers now have a Watchtower-sanctioned excuse to sneer at pretty girls who won't look at them, and all you have left is your pioneering.
So fulfilling.
Women don't count in the Jehovah's Witnesses at all.
Does Solomon refer to an adulterous wife as a prostitute? Perhaps. Or it could be that he distinguishes between the consequences of committing immorality with a prostitute and those resulting from adultery with another man's wife.
There is a huge difference between a woman who cheats and a prostitute. Huge! A prostitute is someone who trades sex for money, period. That is the meaning of the word. So an adulterous wife is not a prostitute unless she charged for it. Because, I noticed the man who cheats isn't being called names.
The one having intimacies with a prostitute can be reduced to a round loaf of bread, to extreme poverty. He may even succumb to painful and crippling sexually transmitted diseases, including AIDS.
Well, yeah, but so can the one who never has sex at all, or who is faithful his whole life. One stock market crash is all it takes, y'all. Or, if you're an American, one major illness. And speaking of illness, there are many diseases worse than sexually transmitted diseases and AIDS, starting with Ebola, okay? This fear-mongering is kind of ridiculous. If you want to discourage certain behavior, there are better and more effective ways to go about it than screaming, "You're all gonna die!"
On the other hand, the one seeking intimacies with another's marriage mate would be in greater immediate danger under the law. An adulterous wife endangers the precious soul of her illicit partner.
Why is this her fault? And why is his soul the only one that's considered precious? He's endangering his own damn soul. She is only responsible for her actions, not his.
More than the shortening of life by dissipation is intended, says one reference work, the sinner is liable to the death penalty. In any case, regardless of her physical beauty, such a woman is not to be desired.
Once again, here they are telling Jehovah's Witnesses what to think, what their desires should and should not be. Y'all, there is a huge difference between desiring something and going out and taking it. To desire is to have a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. Okay, so I might desire to be a millionaire, but I know that if I go out and rob a couple of banks, I'm not likely to be a millionaire for long. It's the same with sexual desire. If you're married and you have a true desire to be with somebody else, then guess what, asshole? You shouldn't be married. You need to work on yourself and be really sure about what you actually desire before you go ruining someone else's life. There's also a distinction between sexual attraction and desire here, and Jehovah's Witnesses don't really understand this distinction at all. For example, there are several men who I think are incredibly attractive. Jason Momoa, Harry Connick Jr., oh, I could listen to that man read the phone book. But are either of them better than this guy? If given the opportunity to start a relationship with either of these guys, would I choose to cheat? Oh, hell no. Because I understand the difference between attraction and desire and love. These guys are pretty, but they're not my best friend. I mean, they haven't been through hell and back with me, and I doubt seriously that they could make prettier babies than we have. The question a cheater should ask him or herself is this sex worth losing my relationship with my wife or husband? If the answer is yes, then go get a divorce immediately. Get yourself a therapist and then pursue a relationship with that person you desire once you have your head straight. Do not waste your time with this "you shouldn't desire her prettiness" bullshit, because that is just distracting you from the real issues.
To emphasize the danger of adultery further, Solomon asks, can a man rake together fire into his bosom, and yet his very garments not be burned? Or can a man walk upon the coals, and his feet themselves not be scorched?
Stop.
Explaining the meaning of the illustration, he says, likewise with anyone having relations with the wife of his fellow man, no one touching her will remain unpunishable. Such a sinner will surely be punished.
This is a beautiful illustration of the Jehovah's Witnesses' problem with ethics. They're worried about being punished, which requires someone finding out, rather than what they should be worried about, which is the damage to the other human beings involved here. The fact that maybe it's a shitty thing to do. And we haven't even delved into the fact that at the time these scriptures were written, women were basically chattel and didn't have a lot of say in what they did or didn't do. So a man could easily force a woman to do what he wanted, and she wouldn't have a whole lot of recourse. Not like SVU was walking around investigating things.
Anyone committing adultery with a woman is in want of heart, states Solomon. A man in want of heart lacks good judgment, since he is bringing his own soul to ruin. Outwardly, he may appear to be a reputable person, but the inner man is seriously lacking in proper development.
Okay, I can't really argue with that, but for slightly different reasons. How funny is it that they specify committing adultery with a woman? Did they not consider sex with other men to be adultery or something? This is...
A thief can compensate for what he stole, but an adulterer can make no repayment. What compensation could he offer an angry husband? No amount of pleading is likely to win the wrongdoer compassion. In no way can the adulterer make restitution for his sin. The reproach and dishonor heaped upon his own name remains. Moreover, he can in no way ransom himself or buy freedom from the punishment he deserves.
Don't you just love how only the men and their feelings seem to matter here? What about the cheater's wife? What about her feelings? I mean, why is an angry husband the only one deserving compensation here? And why from the other man and not from the woman who actually made a vow to him in the first place, his own cheating wife? No, only men and their names matter. But witnesses aren't misogynist at all. No, not at all. Not even a little bit. No, of course not. Well, that's it for today, friends. I know we only went over 2 articles, but they were real doozies. Tune in next time for a stirring Watchtower study article from the same series, all about how you can remain morally clean. Because apparently it's really, really difficult. Until then, I'm Sister Pfister. This is crazy.